kind of like how I do things. Dude, you
Sounds
got to
good.
look at this sponsorship already coming in. You,
No sponsorship, man. It was a care package. I helped someone out online through some therapy work, and he was like, "Holy crap, this shit actually worked." I was like, "Yeah, man." And so he's like, "Send me your address." I was like, he's part of the region, I guess, around the Florida, Georgia area. So
yep.
he sent me a care package. So I was like, "Holy crap! All right." Was not expecting that. So, hey, here we are. It was pretty cool.
I've never tried it,
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's
it
nice.
it.
It's mountain water's artesian, right? Fancy.
Yeah, got that fancy stuff. You know,
Yeah.
taking care of people's bodies. You know, it's all one thing, right?
Yeah,
Take care of
yeah.
yourself. Can't be not be taking care of yourself if you're taking care of others. You know.
Of course. Well, I'll do my best to.
Yeah.
At least I try.
I mean, you do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah,
I
I would
would
say
say.
so.
I would say you're one of the
Yeah.
most well-known people who do body work now, in terms of things.
Uh, yeah, I'd say I'm getting there. I think definitely trying to make a splash and trying to make more people aware of of what I do and the importance of keeping your body moving and living pain free. So life's better when it's pain free, right? So I'm trying to get people to keep moving well.
Man, I'll tell you what. I just got body work done for the first time in like 5 months.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Oh,
I,
awesome.
I've never felt so wrecked and yet so loose at one time. My body's like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do right now. And I'm like, yeah, that's my fault. Because I would be someone that would go like every other week.
Yeah.
Like, truly be honest, I think that's what you need to do. If you're gonna bodybuild or you're gonna do anything where you train your body pretty hard, I find that I tell my athletes all the time, I'm like, you have to go get body work done at least once a month. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
required. That's like should be a requirement. Because
Yeah. No, I agree.
yeah, because I didn't start getting body work done until like two years ago, less than 2 years ago, and
Uh-huh.
it's, like dramatically changed like how I feel and how my body actually performs in the gym and how it moves. Like you were talking about,
Yep.
like that's a big thing. Like
Hmm.
getting able to actually like squat because your hips are actually able to like open up properly. Like
Yep.
that's a
Get
big
that
W for
full
a lot of
flexion.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd you get into that game? How'd you get into the bodywork game?
Man, through my own pain, I was dealing with like knee pain and low back pain consistently, and then just nothing was helping. I would, go to your standard physician. He's just like, yeah, take a week off, and come back and see if it's any better. And you go back for a follow up, and he's like, well, here's this medicine. Let's try this.
Yep.
And and then you would sign some PT, which now at the time back then PT wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't as good. I call it the Mickey Mouse physical therapy. It's kind of like it's all just kind of I guess the redundancy, kind of like almost like a cookie cutter program almost.
Mhm.
Like, hey, hop on this treadmill, hop on this bike, do these different motions. Here, we'll put you on a TENS unit and send you on your way out. It's like, I was only here for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, you'll do this homework at home. And I was just like, it's just kind of a joke at that point. And so through all that, I started doing some digging on different modalities to kind of help with my pain, and actually was scrolling on Instagram and came across Jason Huh, who's actually one of my favorite bodybuilders,
Yep.
Steel Supplements, and made a post about him getting body work. And I was like, oh, what kind of body work he gets done? And that led me to a rabbit hole to his therapist, which was Casey Smith of the Sarasota Pain Treatment Center. And that led me to him, his site, and then led me to the school that he went to. And I kind of just fell into a rabbit hole there and kind of discovered the different techniques that neurosomatic therapy does, which they look at the body structurally and take postural analysis and kind of see where the pain is stemming from, not chasing symptoms. And so I thought that was really, really cool and unique way of identifying, different pain patterns of what could be causing the pain. So instead of chasing symptoms, you go to the root cause of the pain. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And I looked up into the school and looked up a couple of YouTube videos, and I actually was looking into a career change anyways. At the time I was doing personal training, which for me it was just kind of like, I don't know, it was not as rewarding as I thought it would be. I mean,
Yep.
I got a little bit complacent, if you will, and so I decided to take a chance and I applied to the school, and I got accepted. Well, I had a Skype call, then I got accepted, and then I moved from Little Rock, Arkansas to Tampa, Florida. Packed up my clothes in my car and moved down there. So
Yeah. Well, actually, it's really funny because I was going to bring that up next. Can you chat about that move for you? I know you brought it up like the other day or something on your story, or I saw it recently. Can you chat about how like monumental that was for you, and what was the biggest shift for you mentally with that move? In terms of like, was it really scary to make that?
Honestly, I kind of got to the point where, I was complacent. Everything was good. I was, I'd say not your dream hours, but it's like, okay, you train people from 5 a.m. till 10, and, I would see 2 clients every hour. So I see 10 clients in 5 hours. I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm going to go home, have the rest of the day, sleep, take a nap, and have the rest of the day. And it was like redundant, and it's just kind of like, not progressing at all. It's just kind of staying stagnant. And when I was dealing with this pain and all that, and when I discovered the school, I just decided, it was scary, which, I was getting into personal development then too, which back then was called self-help books, right? So, which was like 2016. And that's when I kind of made the leap and was like, you know what? I sold a lot of my stuff. And after I got accepted, I packed up all my clothes in my car, left the rest of my clothes to my best friend, and he actually still has all my stuff in storage. It's kind of funny. I haven't seen it in 6 years. Or going on 7 actually, and packed up my clothes in my car and literally drove that 16 hours down to Tampa. I just made that big leap of faith, and so I never pictured myself living the rest of my life in Little Rock.
Yeah.
And so I think that was kind of the telltale sign that hey, it's time to embrace the scariness and take that leap and move. And was there a little bit of fear? Like, yeah, I mean, I'm moving from a city where literally I know everyone. Like, my sisters used to pick fun of me because they said you should just run for mayor of Little Rock because I would literally know everyone anywhere I went. So, which that's very it's very a comfort setting, right? And so here I am moving to Tampa, not knowing a soul, and I knew I was going to be okay because I'm typically a very social person, and so I'm easy to make friends. I'm really good with networking, so I kind of just took that with faith, moved, made that 16-hour drive, and actually figured out where I was going to live during that 16-hour drive. So I didn't have a place to set either.
Yeah, and you had no plan. You didn't even have a plan A. You were just like you just had a plan.
Yeah, I had a plan. I was like, it's going to go, and I'm going to figure this out, and I made it happen.
I feel like for a lot of people, the more I converse with people, the more I find that turning point is always when they get complacent about things in life. Mm-hmm. Like even for myself, just where I was at before I even made my move to Ohio, it's like I was just like, "Fuck, what am I doing?" And I feel like most people don't actually see that, right? Because there's always that comfort that complacency brings to it. You're just like, oh, I'm making all right money. I don't really need to push the boundaries or push what I'm trying to chase after. And I think that's where a lot of people's like dreams and really like anything of like pushing towards goals really begins to die. So like I feel like there's always that choice moment of like, okay, it's either now or never. Even though I think that can come at very much like a later age, like even like 40 or 50 for some people, where some it hits you like early 20s, mid 30s for someone you're kind of having like a quarter life crisis, as I would put it.
Yeah. I mean, I was probably like 28 when I made the move, so I was kind of So I was 27, 28, and that's when I made that move.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's like live. It's this is a quote. I think it's live with your dreams, not or I can't remember the quote exactly, but it's pretty much like chase after the dream. Not die with regret in a sense.
Yeah, because I feel like if you do that, I feel like life, honestly, and you could probably test this, life gets a lot more fun when you chase after that.
Oh yeah.
Like to
Oh, absolutely. No, it does.
truly be honest. What was that like? What was that like a clicked moment for you? So you moved down to Tampa, and when's like that? Oh shit, I'm making it or I'm doing it type moment when you knew like this is it. Like, because I bet you were still questioning even going to the school and things like that. You're like, is this truly my life path? Like my life purpose? Like, what was that like? This is it moment for you.
Well, I tell you what, that didn't come till later. I actually was like a oh shit moment. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't get that moment until a little bit later. So I get down there, I'm like, okay, sweet, I made it. Here I am, in Tampa, the palm trees, blue skies, sunshine state. I made it. The sun's kissing the face, and I'm feeling good. And once I got to the program, that's my first day of school since like 3 or 4 years being out of college.
Yeah.
And I'm like, never would I picture myself being back in school again, because I absolutely hated school. It wasn't my thing. I just did it to make my parents happy.
Yeah.
So I actually have a bachelor's in human performance and health promotion, so in health science. So, I mean, I guess in a sense I'm kind of using that, but anyways, so as soon as I got to the program, first week, it's almost like full go. Like you get the intro and everything, and then you're like, all right, let's break up into these groups, term 1, term 2, and 3, and then you're in this group, and then like you're doing all these like postural analysis measurements and all that. It's like 82 measurements we have to do, and I'm just like, is this stuff even for me? I'm like, what the hell am I doing? It's like posterior, inferior, and like anterior, posterior. It's just getting all these measurements and all that. It was like that was kind of like my oh shit, especially like the second, third week. I was just like, I don't know if this is for me, man. This is not what I was expecting, But
Yeah.
my dad kind of instilled in me, finish what you started,
Yeah.
So,
I think that's always a big thing too, right? There's always like that test too during it
yeah.
where life will be like, we're gonna see if this guy really wants to actually like. I believe in energy and everything with that, and I believe in everything happens as it should,
Absolutely.
no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like you will get tested, and someone's gonna ask you to do something that doesn't go along with what you want to do, and they're gonna be like,
Right.
I want to see if you're gonna say no to
Right.
it. And I don't
It's
think a
like
lot of
getting
people. Yeah.
Like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's growth and discomfort all the time. It's
Exactly.
a fact. So I was definitely in an uncomfortable situation. And I guess when I had that this is for me moment, it was probably about 4 to 6 weeks in. I kind of like really started getting it. And like I was actually one of the faster measurers. Usually the slower measure takes 30 minutes. Like if you're really good, you can get it done in 12 to 15 minutes, a whole full 82 measurement chart of a person. So, and that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
This is it.
Well, I think everyone needs to take that, right, and have that approach, right? Like that wording, right? Like you had full trust in yourself that it was gonna all end up okay. Like even though for a moment you were like, "Is this for me?" You had that kind of thing that your dad said, where it's just like you finish what you start, and then you get to that point where you're like, "Okay, it's gonna be all good and well." And like even I had that over the last like month or something like that, where everything kind of just came like falling apart for a minute, just from like the move and different things were changing and stuff.
Right.
And then like I started to find what I wanted to create, and like creating this podcast and like creating my new coaching brand and everything like that. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay. Because so much just shifts all at once. I find when these when these big life things happen where you are getting onto your path that's intended for you, everything like completely shifts. And I feel like it causes you to be a completely different person than you were before, like even if it is a week. Like you can compare yourself a week from then, like that's a big difference in what can happen, right? I don't think a lot of people understand how much time we do have to really create like a massive change in our lives, like when it comes down to it.
I feel like it's never too late,
Is it though? I mean, I guess. Well, that's interesting that you say, right? Because I think also, like I said, you can get in your 40s and 50s moment where
Sure.
you do that. But I think a lot of people run into that complacency train where they think it's too late.
Sure.
So, do you have anything for people that might think that, especially like going back to school at 28, too?
Yeah.
Like that's where a lot of people would be like, okay, my path's set and straight. Like I have like my
Right.
nice corporate job, my nice 9 to 5, and I'm good. Like, what would you say to
Right.
someone that's kind of like, I know this isn't for me, and I want to get to the place where I want to go?
I think you really just got to change your mindset. You know, you can't think like you're in this box, right? Life isn't concrete. It's anything you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in
Yeah.
a sense, right? You can create something with your own two hands and your hard work, and you can make things happen for yourself. You just got to have that inner belief, stay consistent, and you know, and just work hard to meet those goals and what you demand of yourself. You know.
Yeah.
So I
Definitely.
think it's changing. You know, fresh starts is a mindset.
Yeah, definitely. And how you view, I think how you view yourself too is also pretty big. I think you have to
Yeah.
view yourself with actually some confidence too as well. Now, kind of like you're in school and you're kind of going through this path. What's been like the biggest struggle in this journey outside of maybe like that first week where maybe you questioned yourself, like because like I said, you're becoming very well known and everything, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of people see it like now. But what's been like the biggest struggle outside of like moving to the new city and questioning whether it was for you or not?
I guess finding my place, you know, and like personally with like where do I fit in with, you know, some of these people here in town, because it's almost like a culture shock when you move down here. I'm from a little town. I mean, even though Little Rock's the capital of Arkansas, it's a little big city.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the biggest struggles was kind of like making that communication and networking with people, because back at home, I could literally find anyone for you. Like if you needed a barber, if you needed a electrician, if you needed, you know, whatever it could be. Like I knew politicians. You know, it's wild, and it's just trying to be able to network and facilitate that here in Tampa, because my whole goal to that program was to grind out school for 18 months and move back and open my own practice, which obviously that didn't happen. And so that was my mindset, and that was, you know, so I guess the struggle and the difficultiness of was acclimating to adjusting to this, I guess, point in my life where I have no one. So it's like almost in a sense like being alone, not being able to reach out to somebody like a close friend that's near, like you can go and talk to. So I'd say that was one of the bigger struggles. I feel like you kind of felt alone because, you know, you'd go to school and it's like, all right, well, I don't really know anybody. I'm just going to go to the gym, work out, come back home, study, and it's just like you're by yourself in your thoughts, right? Kind of like having that self-doubt too.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting that you said that, right? Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you brought up being alone, because I actually was writing up something to my friend, and they were talking about that, and I was like, yeah, but there's still a big difference. There's a big difference between being alone and being lonely.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I look at what you just said, there's a massive difference in what if someone says they are lonely versus you were just alone working on your goal. Right? Like you were just going to the gym, eating your food, getting your schoolwork done. Like that's what you were doing. Right? But you had an intended goal in mind. Right? And I think that's where people struggle with the art of being alone, is that they don't come to terms with, I think that that's necessary. Like everyone needs to go through that, where they're not gonna see a ton of people. Like even for me, I remember being in Virginia, and I didn't see people too often. Like when I was working on my business and working on myself and like my education, like I just grinded out nights of studying and working and doing what I needed to do, and just focusing on bodybuilding too as well. So you find that there's that difference between that, and was it hard for you to distinct between those feelings too? But looking back at it now, you could probably tell that there was a difference between those.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I guess in a sense, I kind of like this. It's like becoming, the best version of yourself will require a lot of goodbyes, which I learned kind of how I kind of embrace that.
Yeah.
So,
How so?
I think
How did you embrace that?
embrace of as far as,
Like,
embracing that, I just kind of changed my mindset when it comes to, that, though I say a lot of goodbyes, I mean, this is a chance to be my best self of who I truly am and what my real calling is. And I know that'll be okay because I'm able to have, those conversations with people and make connections and things like that and network and make something of myself to make progress with what I'm doing or what I'm wanting to do.
mhm.
And so I knew, knowing that, I took comfort in that I was going to be, everything was going to be okay.
Yeah. Now I got a few posts that I seen you repost from
Yeah.
Chris Cavallini. Is that his name? Did
Yeah.
I say his
Yeah.
name right? I
Yeah.
don't want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
butcher his
Good,
name.
good, no, good friend of mine. Yeah.
So I see you post these a lot, and I really want to dive into like 3 or 4 of them that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I saw you repost. And
Yeah.
the one that you reposted recently was, "If you want to be great, people will tear you down. That is the price you
Yeah.
pay for caring enough to make a difference. Embrace it. It makes you stronger and more resilient." Now, it means a lot when you repost something, right? That means that
Sure.
there's an inspiration behind that. So what was the inspiration behind you reposting that? Was there something that clicked with you that brought you back to a certain place during this time?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like you're probably from a. Are you from a small town too?
Yeah, a little bit small town where mostly everyone knows each other. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows everyone. Yeah, it's almost like how I like interpret that for me is like no one's really happy for you unless you're doing it just as shitty as they are, right? It's like, oh hey, how's your little business doing? I was like, little business? I'm like, this business has been going well. It's almost like condescending and trying to throw like little digs at you.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of took that, is that's kind of how I take it too. Kind of, torture them with success.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I took that saying as far as people will tear you down. They always everyone throws stones from a glass house,
Yeah.
and it's just that's kind of how I interpreted that quote as well. And also just people also like in the industry too that wants to throw darts, throws little shots at you too. So it's kind of a middle finger to them as well. So it's okay.
Yeah. I say this is how you always find out who is your friend, who is your actual true friend, and who isn't.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
they fully actually support you winning?
Right.
And do they cheer you on when winning? And do they talk
Right.
about you winning to their friends? And like are they actually doing that to support you? Or do they cheer you on from the front and then they talk shit behind your back? Right? Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I found this
Oh, yeah.
out. I found this out the hard way. I think this is one of probably the hardest things that a person could go through, especially when they're starting to be on the come up, is going through this
Right.
part where people will tear you down. Because if you have a certain personality, you'll feed into that. Like for
Yeah.
myself, I fed into it pretty hard. And people, and just from my background of just like the way I went through my childhood and everything like that, like that's where I take people's opinions and what they say about me to heart, no matter what it is. So how would you tell people that are maybe on that come up, that feel that pressure from others, like maybe I have,
Right.
to kind of think about this and be like, just know that this is going to be like a part of the process, because I think every single entrepreneur, every single person that owns a business that I've heard of has gotten this no matter what. And yet I feel like it's really funny because I feel like they talk about this after they become successful, because they don't notice it until they have that made it point where they don't notice it in while they're going through that growth and while they're on that come up.
Yeah. I just Actually, Gary V. I listen a lot back in the. Well, I don't listen as much, but Gary V. As far as the opinions of other people, it's like, why do you give a shit of what other people think? You know, other people's opinions of you is a reflection of themselves, right? They're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're hurt. They're in pain. They're the one throwing shade at you because deep internally they're insecure or they have some deep underlying issues. And so I kind of took it like that, took that in stride like that. So I was like, all right, and also took it like, okay, I'll see where you're at in a year or two. I'll see where I'm at in a year or two. It's kind of, you'll deal with a lot of different people that are going to throw shade or hate at you, and you just kind of got to block out the noise, have those blinders on, and just keep going forward,
Yeah. Do you get a lot of hate for the newbie machine?
What's that?
Do you get a lot of hate for the newbie machine?
Man, yeah, that, and I get some with that, and I get some with like, oh, what is NST? That's not even a proven thing. Which we have research papers on a lot of things that we were able to help. So yeah, you'll get shit on some of that, but as long as you're confident in your craft and what you speak, and you speak with confidence, and you can back those claims up, then yeah, I think I've been able to do that. My results speak for themselves. I don't really advertise. I don't think I ever advertised since like the first couple of years I was in business, and everything's now it's just straight word of mouth on Instagram and through social media. So I don't really have to advertise. I get new inquiries almost every day.
Is it pretty cool to have that opportunity to like go travel around the country and go treat like many different people? Like for example, I mean, like you were going to come up, like even I had the opportunity to get worked on by you. Obviously, some things ran into getting it, but I was going to get worked on by Matt when he was coming up to Ohio to visit Austin Stout. Is it pretty cool to kind of like sit back when you're like traveling sometimes or on like a flight and you're like, fuck, I get to go around the country and see like some of the best people in this industry and like they want my work.
Yeah, no, it's definitely incredibly humble feeling to be able to experience that. It's actually kind of funny here. I used to be subcontracted with the WWE. Actually, they were my first gig out of school. I literally my first gig was with the WWE through one of my clients, Samoa Joe. He asked if I was available to do some work. I was like, yeah, sure. And WWE contacted me and said, hey, well, we're going to be at Madison Square Garden, so we'll be here at this time and time, such and such. I was like, my first gig is going to be at Madison Square Garden. I get there, I'm like, holy shit! I'm in the Big Apple, Madison Square Garden. I literally staying at an Airbnb at some creepy day trader's house or apartment flat. I roll my stuff over there. Literally, he lived like 2 blocks away from Madison Square Garden. I go back there, and I freaking go through security with the wrestlers, and it was a pretty surreal feeling. I actually grew up a big wrestling fan, so I always wanted to be a wrestler when I was a kid. But here I am backstage. I get to work on some of the people I grew up watching wrestling. Like I see the Hardy Boys, I see Kane, I see Rhino, I see John Cena. I see Sheamus. It was a very surreal feeling, and that was pretty cool that I got to travel with them on the road. Even though, they're not the best paying company, but that's neither here nor there. But it was a cool experience to be able to travel with them on several different occasions for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. So that was really cool. And of course, that snowballed into what it is today. To people reaching out to me for like Austin. We met at the Physique Education Collective in Denver in 2020, and I got to present, which was really awesome. And that's kind of how I met Austin, Vince, Pitstick, Jeff Black, and I actually knew Jason. I know Jason Theobald for a while. He was actually a coach of mine back in 2011, back in the Forum Board days. So it was really cool to connect with him in person. So that all snowballed to what it is today. Be able to travel to, I was traveling to Nashville to work on Jeff Black and at the seminars there. And then, of course, I feel like I go to Austin's every quarter in Ohio. So it's just a very cool experience that people really believe in my craft and work and notice the difference and how big of a change it makes on their mobility, their movement patterns, muscles firing correctly, all that. So it's really awesome. I'm incredibly proud of myself to be able to be at this point and make an impact on other people's lives throughout the country and even throughout the world. I've worked with people in Canada through Zoom, a couple people in the UK, so it's a really cool experience, and especially working on some of the IFBB pros that are from Europe. There's a couple from Germany, obviously the UK area. They said, hey, if you're ever in town somehow, let us know, we can get you set up, and I think that's a really cool opportunity to have, that I had that available. And yeah, it's been a fun ride for sure. I never would have expected this in my wildest dreams. If you would have told me this is going to be your life 5 years ago, I'd been like, you're bullshitting me, But here I am.
I think that's what a lot of people think. They're like, well, number one, I'd be fanboying too if I saw any of those WWE guys, because and I'd be like getting like the DVDs in like 2004, 2005, and I would just be watching like No Way Out or like Hell in the Cell or like Survivor Series, like that was my shit as a kid. I think I watched like Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown like every single week for like literally like my whole childhood. That was like awesome. That was some of my best moments.
That's cool. I love it.
Yeah. One time, actually, funny story. This would be great for the podcast. One time, I put the brim of my hat like down, and I jumped off my sofa, and I crashed the brim right into my hat, and it split my glasses right in half.
Oh no!
I thought it was the coolest shit ever, and I go run up to my mom. My mom's like, "What did you do?" And she just sees the glasses broken in half, and she's like, she just shook her head. Yeah. She's like, I gotta pay for. Yeah, she's like, I gotta pay for another pair of glasses. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I think it's pretty dope that you were able to, like, that's crazy for a first gig to just go right into the WWE. Now, next post I see, and I think this will give us a really, really good one here. Your competition isn't always other people. It is your insecurities and ego, your tendency to procrastinate, stay comfortable, and avoid taking responsibility. It's the shit food you consume, the excuses you make, or the people, resources, opportunities you take for granted. When they say you're your own competition, that's what it really means. So, I want to kind of get your take on this one, and break this down a little bit more, because I think this is huge. I think people lose that battle to them inner selves a lot, because it's the hardest one to do. So, if you want to break that down, give your thoughts on why this post was posted from your angle, and we'll kind of just take it from there on this one.
Man, I guess that one's a really good one. From Chris. Chris posts some really good gems. He's like a life problem solver, I call it. He's just a no nonsense, no bullshit guy. Just quit making excuses. It's true. Your competition always is other people. It's dealing with your inner self, right? And taking accountability for your actions and hold yourself to a high standard to continually progress as a person inside and out, whether it's, through mental fortitude, through personal development, through reading, whether it's audiobooks or what have you, or even in and out of the gym, even just simple things as making your bed every morning, right? It's a small little thing. I think that's a big, big thing. And I'm a big proponent of how you do one thing is how you do everything as well. And so when it comes to that quote, it's always finding, growth in that discomfort too. So people like to stay in that comfort level, but, like I said earlier, there's growth in discomfort. And always take responsibility for your actions of what you do, whether it's good or bad, and just make sure you're always doing the right thing, and progressing to your goals and to your daily habits and to your daily life. So
yeah, I think the biggest one is probably taking responsibility for your own actions. I think that's always step one for anyone wanting to grow. Is if you blame things on others or on like an event or a circumstance, it's like it's not what it is, right? You don't change by actually doing that. You change by saying, "Oh, where could I get better?" And this is something that, I'm a big fan of like Jordan Peterson, and this is like a big thing that he always talks about is it's your responsibility. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like
Like,
it's on you. And I think
like
that's
Jocko,
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
everything's your fault, right?
Yeah. Everything is your fault,
Taking ownership, right?
which in my mind though that could play that there's like there's a devil's advocate to that because you
Sure.
could definitely take that too far.
Right,
But
absolutely.
but if we think about it, right, like we always say like everything happens as it should, like everything has
Yeah.
happened because you allowed it to happen in a
Right.
way.
Sure. Yeah.
So one question though I want to break down in between that thing is how do you subdue your ego, especially as you continue to climb, and especially as you continue to grow, and you've seen this massive growth over it hasn't been too long of a time period, right? How
A
was
couple years. I'm saying, yeah.
yeah? What did you do? What have you been doing to help like subdue the ego of like oh fuck yeah I'm the man, like I'm the fucking man.
Man, I don't get too high on my own supply. That's what I tell
Yeah.
people. I don't get myself too low. I don't get myself too high. I always keep myself that middle ground to kind of stay humble. That I'm not in the business. I mean, obviously you're in the business making money, but I'm more in the business of the service of people. I'm in the people serving business. So I want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. And I want to make sure that they feel special. Like that someone actually cares of their problems and issues that they're dealing with, not just passing off, giving it like, brushing off their issues and things like that. I feel like that that's kind of what keeps me in that space of not getting too high on my own supply, saying, I'm almost like, yeah, I'm the like in my head, I'm like, yes, I freaking did it. I mean, I'm the man. It's like I have a client he's seen. I was his last resort. He's like, all right, dude, I've seen every doctor, I've seen every specialist, I've seen any type of therapist. He's like, I don't know what you do. I read some things about it. It's interesting. You're my last hope. I changed his life. He literally hasn't been able to train legs the way he wants to. Like he kept it from bodybuilding,
Hmm.
and I got his life back. He's able to train legs like he had in the past. It's like you're the only one that could fix it. He even seen a colleague of mine that he couldn't help, and I was the only one that could help him. It's just kind of like, freaking, I'm the man. But then I find get back in that place. Like, yeah, you help people. Let's keep this train rolling. Let's keep this momentum going. Don't get too high on your own supply. Have your moment and act like you've been there before.
Yeah. And then one thing outside of the ego, right? Because our ego is laid within our insecurities, which is what he
Yeah.
even talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the ones that you've had to face in your life, in terms of, especially as you've gone through like this massive shift? Because I know I can personally speak upon some of the insecurities that I have and some of the difficulties that I faced, but I kind of want to hear from you over what are some of your insecurities that make you kind of, because I think a lot of people are going to hear some of these podcasts, and the reason why I want to ask these types of questions, because I want to put this out here for the viewers, is because I want to make these people like they are some of the best people in the world. And this is how you become like the best version of yourself, is actually dealing with these insecurities and becoming better out of it. And also, I want to make you more human,
Right.
because a lot of people could see you as like on like a pedestal when really
Right.
you're the same as everyone else. You're dealing with the same shit. So, what are some of the insecurities that you battled through, and how did you overcome them?
It's serious of being good enough. I've always kind of felt that there's been points in my life like, am I even good at this, or am I good enough? Am I worthy to even be able to put my hands on people and be able to help and make a difference? There'd be times where I wasn't able to help someone that really took a blow. It's like a low blow. It just really sucks the air out of you. And it's just that was one of the big, I guess, hurdles that I had to get through. That you'll have those days, but you'll have more ups than there are downs. And once the downs, you can figure out what you did wrong and how you can take that into the next treatment, apply that, and be of service of your next patient that you deal with. So that was being good enough was one of the insecurities. And as far as just I guess another, let's see, that would be probably the main one, insecurity with that. Another insecurity, would have to be the confidence of my work as well. So having some like lacking confidence, um, like I said, you'll have those moments where you lack, where you just, sometimes you're like, I don't want to do this today, but sometimes you kind of have to just fight through it and keep digging each day and showing up and keep giving it your best, each day, each person, each session. So the insecurity of not being good enough, some of the lack of confidence, and not being accepted, and not being the best, at my job, and the inability to get people better or feeling well. So those would be some more insecurities, I would say.
Do you think the first one is why a lot of people don't start in the first place? It is, and this is something that I've been dealing with actually a lot lately. Like I said, when things started to change, it was the big question. It was like, am I worthy of even doing this? I think that's where people ask that question. It's not even like good enough. They're like, am I even worthy of starting it?
Right.
Now, how did you have like a supporting cast that helped you get through that during that time too, where you might have not thought you were worthy enough to actually be able to do it?
Yeah, my parents, and especially my wife. Wife was she's a big, sorry. Yeah, no, she's been a rock for me during this whole process.
Yeah.
So if I feel down, she, lets me know it's going to be okay. So it's really incredibly blessed to have her in my corner to kind of get me through some of the tough days.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you about that. I was like, what does her loyalty mean to you? I'm like, this is one thing. This is one thing that I saw, and I see it, on your posts, and it's a big thing that I really get really like happy to see from you. It's just like you discussed how grateful you are to have her in your life.
Oh, absolutely.
And how did she help change you?
Everything. She holds me to a high standard. She holds me accountable. She calls me out on my bullshit. And even if I get upset, I'll have my moment and be upset, and then we'll come back and we'll have a talk, and and we'll solve it together to make me and her better. I mean, this is, it's not, I don't know, it's not 50-50. It's, it's picking up each other's slack, right? Like if I can only give 30%, then she'll do 70%. If she can only give 20, I'll do the 80. It's a team effort with me and her, and incredibly grateful for her, and to have her support and her wealth of knowledge when it comes to my mental, and hold me to a high standard and make me a better person and a better human, and always encouraging me to that I am making a big difference with people with my work, and she identifies that and definitely lets me know that I am making a difference and that I am making an impact on the community and people around the world. So it means the world to me, and she definitely helps me a lot in that aspect.
I think life becomes really dope when you have good people around you. That's
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good to have good people, It's people that support you, believe in what you do, believe in your craft, always push you to be better, calling you out on your bullshit. Your meanest friend is the one that cares about you the most. And
it really is. Yeah, it really is. I truly believe that. Like, if they truly care, they'll be there and comfort you, but they're also going to kick you down a few times to tell you you got to work on your shit, right?
Absolutely. You gotta get your shit together, So
yeah. So that's like, yeah. She just seems like she's been like the crucial piece to your puzzle that you may have been missing for the
longest time. Came out of nowhere. Yeah, no, she's awesome, and it helps that she's a doctor or nurse practitioner in psych and mental health. So that's always a plus as well.
How does Now, going into that though, how does your mental health take a toll when you're grinding for so long and you're actually like working on all these top level pros and things like that, and you have these insecurities of, are you good enough? Those things. How does she help you with that side of things and helping you see that and see past that?
She, through communicating and conveying to her what I feel on different things like that. Like, say, if I had I see a lot of people every day. So obviously I'm an extrovert, but sometimes, after I see so many people throughout the day, it's just like, all right, I just want to be with her and our dogs. And so, but no, she helps as far as keep my head, at a good level to where it needs to be, not too low, not too high, keeps that nice middle ground, so I think she really helps me establish a way better mindset and attitude on how I handle different situations, especially when it comes to bad days,
Yeah.
And good days.
Yeah, and I think I understand your extrovert point there plenty because I'm one too. But even for me, I'm like, even though I'm extroverted, I can only do like one podcast a day if I needed to record. I'm like, I can't do any more than that. I'm like exhausted by the end because you put so much. I think it's because at least what we do with our crafts, right? You put so much effort into making it a really good experience for the person that takes a lot of energy. And people are like, don't you gain energy from having people around? You're like, yeah, you do, but it's hard to even take alone time because that's what people put out as extrovert, right? You kind of get labeled as that social guy. Yeah. So you continue to get put on those expectations of always being social. And I find that leads to kind of what I'm going to talk about, which is placing boundaries on things. And I wanted to talk about one last post that you actually posted. I don't know if it was if it was Chris that actually posted this one. It might have been. You said manipulation is when they blame you for your reaction to their disrespect. I want to know, when have you found yourself like being manipulated, and how did you place that boundary on like those things when those start to arise?
It's kind of like, I've been, there's people in the industry or like in my realm, that use manipulation tactics to, to kind of undermine you on what you know and things like that, and kind of question yourself. So, I've got that a couple times, but, to combat that, you just kind of,
just do the work.
I gotta shut them out. You just gotta, cut them off, whether they're friends or acquaintances. You kind of just keep them at a distance, and you just can't let that noise creep in, and and just get those disrespectful motherfuckers out of your life. Life gets a lot better when you get rid of those type of people in your life. So
there was a quote. There was a quote that I was reading, because I really set like a boundary just recently, like one of the first times I've ever done it, because from where I've come, my background, like I'm really kind and I'm always understanding of everyone, and I try to bring everyone in and use my energy to help them. And it's kind of been taken and used upon a few times. But there's a quote that I read, I think it was on TikTok, and it said, says you'll know, it's like something if you'll know if the person's meant to be in your life, if one, when you place that boundary on them or you cut them off, you love them more, or you realize how much life is peaceful without them.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
I'm starting to find that more and more and more, especially as I move.
Every day, right?
Yeah, I'm like, you really don't need too many people in your life to truly, like, you don't need too many within that close circle to fully enjoy everything that life has to give, right? I think it's just you just need good five people in your life that you can fucking go to war with, and that's it. I think if you have that, and then you use that energy, that social energy that we have. I think that's when you start to know when to use it, when to push, when to pull, and you just know, and life just becomes a lot easier. I find
Oh,
it's been a lot more
most
peaceful.
definitely. 100%. No, 100% agree. You know, actually, I just also want to say, respect to everyone who comments other people and really mean it. Because that jealousy, envy shit that shit is for losers. So they can just see their way out.
Yeah, I just yeah, I don't get how you can support someone and really be jealous of what they have. Like this is something that I've even had to work on now, and like I take
Yeah.
full responsibility for it, right? Like it's just like,
Right.
well, why don't I have that? And it's just like, well, you don't really know what goes on, right? This is like the same thing that Jordan Peterson says, right? It's compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today, because I bet for a lot of people, when it comes down to it, if they get jealous of you or anything, or they throw you shade, I would love for them to step in your shoes throughout your whole life and be like, okay, um,
Right.
I don't know if I want that. Or I don't know if I
No.
want to work that many hours, right? Like, you know what I
No.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I find. That's what I find to be the thing is they'll talk shit and then you're like, well, put yourself in their shoes and then think
Right.
about it and
Mm-hmm.
understand because everyone
Yeah.
has a different story and everyone has a different background
Of
to how
course.
they come up,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stuff that happens, and I think a lot of people don't deal with some of the stuff that happens, and I don't think you would want what half the people have in this world, right? Like
No. For
that's how
sure.
I think about it. That's why I'm like life can't be any better than
Right.
where I am, right?
Yep.
Because it's just like you've made it past those points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So what's like next for you? What's the big like growth for you now? Like what's your vision over everything? Like where do you want to go now with things?
So right now, I open a second office inside MI40 Gym. So I actually hired two therapists. I have Ben Hodge, also known as Ben underscore Huge on Instagram. He's my deep tissue massage therapist, and then I just hired. He's actually a former client of mine. I made such an impact on his therapy that he actually made a career change and went to the same program as I did. And he just graduated earlier this year in March. Luke Cobitter, he works with me now. He's a neurosomatic therapist as well. So I got two hirees now. Looking into bringing a different form of chiropractic with a guy named Dr. Andy Zhu. Hopefully here in the next month or so. So I'm going to continue to grow and continue to be the service of people to help everyone, live and function throughout their daily life. So that's the goal, and I want to do a little bit more traveling with some people, kind of get a further reach out to people, like whether it's
Yep.
with Austin, maybe people in the Atlanta area, like with David, that's Mosquito, which I need to contact him soon. And then, make a trip to Nashville. So it'd be cool to do a little bit more of the traveling stuff to kind of help others
Yeah.
around the U.S. So
Yeah, I definitely we gotta get you back up here. I need,
yeah.
or I need to go travel down to Florida. I don't know,
Right.
Florida.
Hey, either way.
Going down to Florida in the winter rather than coming to Ohio sounds a lot nicer, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, hey, I don't mind. I don't mind the change of scenery. I like the slight little weather change, a little cooler, But yeah, that's my goal is to keep on growing, progressing. Maybe bring on another therapist as well, and kind of continue on the kind of like the crusade of letting everyone know about neurosomatic therapy and FRC and how it can all help people live a pain-free life. So
Yeah.
that's the goal. I just want to make an impact on each and every person that I work with, giving them a piece of me and leaving them with a piece of them as well, making an impact.
That's dope. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Just to have that growth.
Yeah.
Now, getting to the end of the episode, I want to say first off, thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time.
I really appreciate it.
What I usually do my final three questions, so we'll nail these out, and then I'll get you on your way. What should people take away from this episode?
A key takeaway on this is, follow what you want to do. Do what you want to do. Life is too short to do what you don't want to be doing. You know, go out there, take that leap of faith, get in that discomfort, because there's growth in discomfort. And on the other side of that, there's happiness, and actual true happiness on what you really want to do in life and your purpose and your calling. And I think if you step out of that comfort zone and make that leap, life can get a lot better for yourself.
Yeah. I was going to ask this next one. I'm trying to figure out what question I want to ask for number 2. I've kind of been like stuck between like multiple ones, so we'll give it. You might get a 4th question today. What are 3 books? What are 3 books that people should read?
Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, Unfuck Yourself by John Bishop, and The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson.
Good 3 books there. What is one thing that people can do to become the best version of themselves?
Start today.
Awesome. And then last question, probably the easiest one to answer. Get your 15 seconds of fame here. Where can people find you?
People can find me at Instagram handle Next Level or Nothing. You can also find me at themusclemechanic.org. I'm on Facebook seldomly, so you can find me at Matthew.Christman, I think, on Facebook. So yeah, that's where you can find me, and I'm more active on Instagram than anything else. So you can definitely always hit me up in the DMs if you have any questions or want to do any Zoom consults or any type of therapy sessions. We can definitely make that happen.
Awesome. If you guys enjoyed listening to this episode, listening to Matt, go follow him on Instagram. Number 1, he posts some really good stuff. Number 2, if you can, go support your boy. Use code SPADA at morphogennutrition.com. Save 10% off all supplements. If you guys also enjoyed listening to this episode, Matt and I would greatly appreciate if you guys shared it on your Instagram stories, tagged both of us. Go subscribe to the podcast, the YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Go leave us a 5-star rating and review. Go follow your boy on Instagram. Other than that, hope you guys have a good day, and catch you guys on the next episode of the Noble Pursuit Podcast.